Spain in the early 2000s seemed to be thriving. The streets were alive with the hustle and bustle of daily life, and there was a palpable sense of optimism in the air. The economy was growing at an impressive rate, with businesses flourishing and consumer spending at an all-time high. Shops were filled with eager customers, and the business districts were buzzing with activity. Construction cranes dotted the skyline, building homes for a seemingly insatiable market. New housing developments sprang up almost overnight, catering to the demand of a booming population. Jobs were plentiful, and Spaniards enjoyed a rising standard of living. Families spent their weekends enjoying leisure activities, confident in their financial stability and future prospects. But beneath the surface, a different picture was emerging. Concerned faces began to appear, and empty storefronts hinted at underlying issues. A closer look revealed an economy teetering on the brink of collapse. Financial analysts pored over charts, and economic reports began to predict a downturn. The warning signs were there, but they were largely ignored. People continued with their daily lives, overlooking the red flags that were becoming increasingly apparent. The rapid economic growth of the early 2000s masked deep-seated structural problems. The facade of prosperity hid the cracks that were beginning to form. Spain's economy had become overly reliant on construction and real estate. The overbuilding in cities was a sign of an unsustainable boom. Meanwhile, other sectors like manufacturing lagged behind. Empty factories and a lagging industrial sector painted a grim picture. The country was living beyond its means, fueled by cheap credit and a speculative housing bubble. People were spending money they didn't have, and speculative investments were rampant. The stage was set for a dramatic fall. The signs were all there, but the storm that was about to hit would take many by surprise. The turn of the millennium saw Spain experience an economic boom that seemed miraculous. After years of lagging behind its European neighbours, Spain's economy surged ahead. Growth rates outpaced those of France and Germany. This period, dubbed the Spanish Miracle, was fueled by a construction frenzy. Low interest rates and easy access to credit made mortgages readily available. Spaniards rushed to buy homes, driving prices to unsustainable levels. The construction industry boomed, creating jobs and boosting the economy. This growth, however, was built on shaky foundations. The real estate bubble inflated, creating a ticking time bomb. Despite the outward signs of prosperity, some economists warned of trouble brewing beneath the surface. They pointed to the unsustainable rise in housing prices and the growing current account deficit. Spain was importing far more than it exported, relying heavily on foreign capital to finance its growth. These warnings, however, went largely unheeded. The government, caught up in the euphoria of the boom years, dismissed concerns about a bubble. Banks continued to lend recklessly, fueled by short-term profits. The Spanish people, enjoying their newfound prosperity, were largely oblivious to the looming crisis. In 2008, the global financial crisis struck, sending shockwaves through the world economy. What began as a subprime mortgage crisis in the United States quickly morphed into a global credit crunch. Banks stopped lending to each other, fearing exposure to toxic assets. The financial system ground to a halt. Spain, with its weak economic fundamentals and overexposed financial sector, was particularly vulnerable. The flow of easy credit that had fueled its housing boom dried up. The real estate market froze and prices began to plummet. The Spanish economy went into a tailspin. The Spanish economy, once booming with rapid construction and real estate development, faced an unprecedented downturn. The collapse of the housing bubble had a devastating impact on the Spanish economy. Entire neighborhoods were left unfinished, and the dream of home ownership turned into a nightmare for many. Construction projects ground to a halt, throwing thousands out of work. The once bustling construction sites became ghost towns, and the ripple effects were felt across various sectors. Banks, saddled with bad loans, found themselves on the brink of collapse. Financial institutions struggled to stay afloat, and the banking sector faced a severe crisis. Unemployment soared, reaching a staggering 26% by 2013. The job market was in shambles, and families struggled to make ends meet. In fact, Spain even today has the highest unemployment rate at 12%. The Spanish government, faced with a mounting crisis, was forced to take drastic action. Lawmakers debated fiercely, trying to find solutions to stabilize the economy. It nationalized several banks and implemented harsh austerity measures in an attempt to reduce its deficit. These measures included cutting public spending and increasing taxes. These measures, however, came at a social cost, leading to widespread protests and social unrest. Citizens took to the streets, expressing their frustration and anger at the government's policies. The years following the crisis were marked by a slow and painful recovery for Spain. The economy contracted sharply, and it took years for growth to return to pre-crisis levels. Unemployment, while declining, remained stubbornly high, particularly among young people. The Spanish economy underwent a painful restructuring, shifting away from its reliance on construction and towards more sustainable sectors. The government implemented labor market reforms aimed at making the economy more competitive. However, the scars of the crisis ran deep, and many Spaniards continued to struggle. In the midst of the crisis, the Spanish government received a substantial bailout package from the European Union and the International Monetary Fund. This intervention was crucial as Spain faced a severe economic downturn, with its banking sector on the brink of collapse. This financial assistance helped to stabilize the banking system and prevent a sovereign debt crisis. The funds were used to recapitalize banks, ensuring they could continue to operate and provide loans to businesses and individuals. The EU also provided structural funds to support economic reforms and job creation. These funds were directed towards infrastructure projects, education and innovation, aiming to boost long-term economic growth and competitiveness. The effectiveness of these measures is a subject of debate. While some economists and policymakers believe the intervention was necessary to restore confidence in the financial system, others argue it came at a high social cost. Supporters argue that they were essential to prevent a complete economic meltdown. They point to the stabilization of financial markets and the gradual recovery of the Spanish economy as evidence of success. Critics argue that the austerity measures imposed as part of the bailout package deepened the recession and exacerbated social inequality. They highlight the increase in unemployment, cuts to public services, and the rise in poverty as significant negative outcomes of the intervention. Spain's economic crisis offers valuable lessons for other countries. It highlights the dangers of unsustainable growth, fueled by debt and asset bubbles. It underscores the need for a diversified economy, not overly reliant on a single sector. Despite the progress made, Spain continues to face challenges. The unemployment rate, while significantly lower than its peak, remains high, particularly among young people. Income inequality has widened, and many Spaniards struggle to make ends meet. The legacy of the crisis continues to cast a shadow over the Spanish economy. Spain's experience with high unemployment is not unique in Europe. The global financial crisis and subsequent sovereign debt crisis hit many European countries hard. Greece, Portugal, and Ireland all faced severe economic downturns and soaring unemployment rates. While some countries, like Germany, recovered relatively quickly, others, like Spain, continue to grapple with the long-term consequences of the crisis. The European Union faces the ongoing challenge of promoting economic growth and job creation while addressing the structural weaknesses that exacerbated the crisis. So, what are your thoughts about Spain? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you're new here, considering subscribing to our channel and not miss any latest updates. Until next time, take care.